So with no state income tax or estate inheritance tax, Florida is fast becoming a very preferred destination for over 300,000 people annually. And with our fabulous weather and our pretty fantastic beaches, Naples, Southwest Florida is becoming one of those top spots for new Florida residents. So how do you establish Florida residency? Hi, I'm Diane Harris with Premier Sotheby's of International Realty here in Naples, Southwest Florida, and I took the plunge years ago and actually established Florida residency after much contemplation and kind of some gnashing of teeth and checking out the pros and cons. So keep in mind that this is a very important decision and one that you should make sure you do your research, and you should also consult your attorneys, your tax advisors, CPAs, and also some of your financial planners and other trusted advisors to help you make that decision. So let's say you decide you want to move forward with establishing Florida residency. Let's take a walk through a checklist that I hope is going to be very beneficial for you. First up is to record a declaration of domicile in the county in which you reside. So this must be a physical address. It cannot be a P.O. box. Now this step is particularly important if you reside in two different states, and that's because it shows that your Florida residence is your primary residence. So you can have an attorney provide this document for you to sign, or you can just download it from online and sign it. So in order to get the declaration approved, you're going to need to prove two things. First, your physical presence is in Florida, as well as your intent to stay. So having this means that all of your taxes will now go through the state of Florida. Second, get your Florida driver's license. So the sooner you get a Florida driver's license or a state ID, the better. So if you already have a license from another state, you will not have to take the written or the driving test to get your Florida license. And for the record, you have about 30 days after filing the declaration of domicile in order to get your Florida driver's license. And you may get a Florida driver's license with or without this declaration. So in order to obtain your Florida driver's license, go to the local government building and provide them with one of the following: either a U.S. birth certificate, a valid or expired U.S. passport, a certification of naturalization or citizenship, a consular report of birth abroad, or a green card. Now, if you're married with a name change, bring an original or a certified copy of all your marriage certificates, court orders, things linking your name from your primary ID to the name that will be on your ID now. And in addition, bring proof of your Social Security number. This can be your Social Security card, a W-2, a paycheck or pay stub, or any 1099. And finally, bring proof of your residential address. So this requires two of the following documents: either a deed or a mortgage of the home you own, a payment book, or if you're renting, a lease agreement. Your Florida vehicle registration and title or utility bill would also be good proof, and essentially just proof of your new address with your name on it. So the third thing to do is to register your vehicle in Florida. Now technically you have about 10 days after establishing Florida residency to complete this task. And keep in mind, these tasks can all be completed on the same day at your local government building. And just for the record, Collier County, Florida makes this process extremely easy and pretty darn painless, because you get it all done at the same place. So here is the most important part of this video. If you only want to make one trip to the government building, I know, because it took me two, and pretty much everybody I know has to bring at least 2 trips because they forget to bring all the right documentation. So make sure you bring the following: the title to the vehicle, or if it's a lease vehicle, provide the leasing company contact information, the account number, the lease agreement, and the current registration for the vehicle. Now, in addition, bring your driver's license. Florida, out of state, doesn't matter. Third, bring everyone with you that is listed on that title or lease agreement. 3, get your car insurance and make sure you bring proof of your Florida policy to the county tax collector. And in order to register the vehicle, you have to show that original title to the county tax collector. That's 5, right? So bring your car and take that with you to make sure that they can come out and check the VIN number if they need to. And then finally, you pay the fees. Our fees right now are currently around $400 at this time. So, whew, all right, that's the challenging one, just trying to save you all some time. So fourth, register to vote in the county in which you reside. So it's convenient to do this while you're getting your driver's license. You could do it at the DMV, the county tax collector. They'll primarily just attach a voter registration form along with your new address forms. And however, you can also register with the supervisor of elections, although you must wait until the voter registration books open, as they close 30 days prior to an election, and then they reopen after an election. So it's a simple form, takes about 5 minutes to fill out, and after you hand it in, your work is done. It's as simple as that. You can also register online at registertovoteflorida.gov. So fifth, if you have purchased a home in Florida while you're in the government center taking care of all these other tasks, we just went through, it's a good time to go ahead and file for your homestead exemption. So Florida's homestead law protects any Florida resident from losing his or her home to a creditor or any other lien holder, with the exception of mortgages. Should you have to declare bankruptcy, having a homestead exemption can let you breathe a little sigh of relief. So you can file this once you have your declaration of domicile to your name. And it also affects your taxes for the better. The Florida Save Our Homes Act says that once qualified for the homestead exemption, the assessed value of your property for tax purposes carries an exemption of the first $50,000 of taxable value for all taxing entities except the school districts, which allows a $25,000 exemption. So in addition, once qualified, the assessed value for tax purposes cannot rise more than 3% in any given year. So along that line, contact your insurance carriers. Make sure that your Florida residence is listed as your primary home, and if you own a home in another state, make sure that your policy shows that it is a secondary home or you're a non-resident. So sixth, change all addresses on your passport, your legal paperwork, your credit cards. Notify all professionals such as attorneys, accountants, insurance carriers, banks, etc. that you've officially moved. Update your will, change your safety deposit boxes, anything like that that helps the government understand that you're now a Florida resident. And last but not least, change your primary care physicians and even your pet's veterinarian to Florida. Believe it or not, this was actually a determining factor in one case disputing a person's Florida residency. One thing to keep in mind, becoming a Florida resident for tax purposes is a bit different than for asset protection. So that's why it's very important to consult your legal professionals, your CPA, and so on. For example, in terms of Florida residency requirements for tax purposes, you'll need to be living in Florida as a resident for 6 months or 183 days. Now, there may be certain requirements relating to income taxes imposed by your prior state. But for Florida asset protection purposes, what's needed to become a Florida resident is your true intent to make Florida your permanent resident, not a strict 6-month time limit. So it's important to note that the term Florida resident had different meanings under different parts of Florida law. So whether or not you qualify as a permanent resident depends on whether or not your circumstances and your actions demonstrate your intent to establish a primary place of residence in Florida. So if you'd like more information about our gorgeous community here in Naples, Southwest Florida, the real estate, this fabulous Naples Pier, which is a great tourist spot, but you can also fish off it and catch some fun stuff, then connect with me, reach out, and I can help you love the way you live, Naples.